Well, 2021, Richard, we've made it through. Can you believe it?
We have. However, I thought I was still in 2020 because do you know it's probably not far off a year since we started this damn R&R thing in the lockdown. Right. Because there was a pandemic around, and it's January, and we're in another lockdown, and there's a pandemic around.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this one's a bit more virulent as well, isn't it? Apparently, this.
Well, it's been said. I don't know whether we've got conspiracy theorists following us at all, because I think when we tend to do an R&R, there was a pandemic, and now we do it again in the new year. There's a new lockdown.
What I do want to just mention before we move on, and give our wonderful listeners the benefit of our
warblings,
is what a head of hair you got there, and that is going to grow over the next 6 weeks, isn't it? My God, you're going to look like the wild man of Borneo by the end of this.
If there's one reason for people to watch this on YouTube is to see how this goes. I think I'm going to keep this beard going. We'll get the hair going, and by the end of this lockdown, let's see what happens. Whether I look like something from the wild man of Borneo. But as before we do move on as well, over Christmas, I'm sure you had a lovely time over Christmas, Ryan. Was it Gertlash down the?
Gertlash, yeah, it was quiet, you know.
Yeah,
but it was lovely.
How about yours? Designer. It was very good, very good. And I've just got rid of my hangover after our cider and CX R&R. Managed to get rid of it, but I did have a fantastic present that arrived.
Wow!
So just to let everybody know that
we're on air.
Country, we're back on air alert. In it, you see. So that was.
For those of you who aren't watching this on YouTube, Richard has just presented a red sign, like he's at the BBC with an on-air, we're live, don't interrupt. Just for those listeners.
In fact, I think we perhaps better start speaking proper, isn't it? Like Mr. Chumley Warner. I say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to all Customer Experience R&R. By the way, I'm Rich Knight. He's Ryan Huxtable. If you don't know us by now, and it's the first time you've listened or viewed R&R, hopefully we can bring you some insights, some positive thoughts, and ways to wow your customers in 2021.
Well, the other thing I'm just going to mention there is what took you so long. You know, we had 30 episodes. You're here now, but what took you so long? Now, look, I thought new year. Yes, of course, we still got one or two challenges, but there's a lot to be positive about. There's lots to be positive about. We've got 2 vaccines now that are going into people's arms. So that's really positive. We've got a Brexit deal.
Yep.
So all of that, uncertainty is, whether you agree with it or not, we have got a deal. So which is good news. Monday, the stock market opened and it shot up, and the pound rose. That was on Monday the 4th. We're recording this on Tuesday the 5th. You'll be obviously listening to this on Friday the 8th. But anyway, there we go. But there is, all joking aside, there is some real positives, and of course there is some challenges, and we know that the next 6-8 weeks are going to be difficult. There's going to be some very, very challenging times for us as a country. More people are going to sadly lose their lives. But we have an obligation, don't we, to keep going. We've got to keep going. We've got to keep our businesses going. We've got to keep our families going. We've got to look after our families with their health, and hopefully what we share on these podcasts give people a bit of a reason to smile, but also a few hints and tips to help them get through these next few weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're going to talk about a few bits and bobs today, just as a kick-off to the year. And then we'll talk towards the end about what's going to be happening next week. But in terms of something that we picked up from, if you're not listening in the UK, because we know we get listeners around this lovely planet of ours, 29 countries, right, apparently. 29 countries.
29.
Yeah, the UK back in lockdown, and there was talk about not being complacent. And when I heard that, I thought it's a really good word to take into the customer experience world as well. Complacency can lead to that bigger holes in your customer bucket. Customer bucket is what I said. So those holes, if they get bigger because we're complacent, means that we lose more customers. So how do we avoid that complacency? How do we make sure that we keep our eyes on the ball, on the goal, and keep moving forward? And that's one of the key things as we go into this lockdown, and then hopefully move out of it as well, is to keep the view and keep the complacency away. So although we are in a similar situation than we were in 2020 back in March time, from a UK point of view, this is slightly different again. People's expectations have still changed. Customers know what to sort of expect now within lockdowns. They know they can do certain things. Okay, there still might be some information coming from government that we're not clear on, but we know what is open and what isn't. Okay. However, there's still opportunity for us as business owners to tell people, remind people what's going on, using those great videos. And we spoke about it in one of our earlier R&R podcasts about people making videos about how, if offices are open, if garages are open, how do you come to the front door of our office still? Do we still have hand sanitizer? Do we still wear masks? When do we wear masks, etc.? Let's show people. Let's really get them involved, because our customers, remember, are part of our business.
Yeah,
if we weren't there, we would have no business.
It comes back to that sort of reset and renew piece. But just on your complacency point, there's a couple of things I want to mention. The positivity piece links really nicely to, if you're positively active, you're not going to be complacent. And for those viewers and listeners that may not know, we carry out a fortnightly business optimism survey, and I was struck going into Christmas when we were asking questions about the new year. Over 2/3 of those businesses we surveyed said that they were much more positive, 20 to 30% more positive going into the new year than they were coming out of the old year. Now, of course, some of that will be driven by, you know, god awful 2020 and looking forward to something brighter and fresher in 2021. But the bigger point I want to link this back to is that the point I made earlier around the Brexit deal. You know, we've got vaccines, all those other things that is lifting the overall confidence in the overall marketplace. But the kicker here is you can be overly confident, which drives that complacency which you talk about. So going back to that detail, Rich, that you so eloquently put around making sure your customers know the basics, how you are communicating with them, when you are open, how they access your products and services in a lockdown, will be crucial. And I know many business owners that I've been talking to earlier on this week saying to me, yeah, we've had our operations planned, we were thinking about it over the weekend, we kind of saw this coming, and we've got some great things in place. And I was talking to a couple of businesses this morning, actually, who said to me, quite frankly, there's no real change. You know, most of our teams are working at home anyway. We know we're going to do that for another 6 to 8 weeks. Actually, Ryan, we want you to test that our client journey is as good as it was coming out of 2021 as it is moving in, going out of 2020 as it is moving into 21. So I think there is still huge opportunity for us to continue to grow our businesses and be really positive about that. But the second thing I just want to mention on your point around, which kind of leads on from complacency, is, do you and have you and are you reviewing the plan that you put together for 2021? Because I think we are all in such a dynamic situation at the moment, with schools are open, now they're not open. So that's probably the biggest change in this lockdown, isn't it, to the one in November, where, you know, people that you might be interacting with at a business B2B or B2C level may have other things on their mind, like educating their children at home, which I'm looking forward to. Really, I am. But that is going to put additional, probably non-business pressure on, and maybe will you know, you need to be thinking about when you're engaging, when is the best time of the day to be engaging with those clients? What will they be doing? Think about their potential needs as well as your potential needs, because in reality, you know, lunchtime or the morning may not be the great time to schedule that Zoom call that you've got to have with them, because they could well be doing, you know, level 4 maths rather than running their businesses. So there's the opportunity again, I think, back to your complacency point around, reach out to them. How can you help? What conversation should you be having with them? Because lots of these businesses, lots of your businesses, if you're listening, you may feel in a very negative place at the moment for all of the reasons we've mentioned, but it won't be for long.
Absolutely. No, yeah, totally agree. I think it's that little bit of more personalization, isn't it? You know, we've got the ability, we've got used to these processes that have been put in place. Are they working? Are you testing them? Are you making sure? And we talk about these things over and over again. And a great point you made around there about the communication. We mentioned in 2020, communicate, communicate, communicate. And it was in the 12 days of CXmas that came out from Insight 6. You may well have seen it on various platforms. One of the first, well, the first one was communicate, communicate, communicate. Keep talking. Let's have a chat. Let's pick the telephone up. Let's make it a bit more personal if we possibly can from that size. If your organization's a bit larger, you know, are your systems working? Checking that everything is smooth and is working as you think it is. You know, the systems, telephone systems, are they putting people through to the right places, etc., as we've mentioned a number of times. And I think that's a really, really important point from the client point of view. But also, as we mentioned back in 2020 as well, this again is a time where your teams, where your employees are in this sea of uncertainty. We may not, and as many people have said, we may not be all in the same boat, but we're all on the same sea at the moment, and it's quite choppy, as they talk about it in the nautical terms. It's a bit choppy out there, you know. So are we making sure, or how much insight you're gathering in terms of how your teams are feeling as well? So remember, we've got teams, we've got people there who are going to make the biggest difference for your clients, for your customers, and how are they feeling? So we spoke last year about team checkers to make sure everybody's feeling safe, everybody's feeling motivated. So is it a motivational checker? Are you checking in with the team? Now they know the processes, that's great, but how is their emotional state? Because a process might be the best process in the world, but if emotionally you're disconnected, you're not in the right place, then that process means nothing. So we've really got to keep checking that. And I think that's a really interesting one. And we know, again, from our insight that we gathered in 2020, back in the middle of 2020, 25% of remote workers across our UK surveys that we'd done, I think it was 12,000 plus responses, well, probably 20,000 by the time we finished, actually, Ryan, I think, was actually saying that they did not feel motivated. That if they had to score themselves out of 10, 25% of people scored themselves less than 6 on the motivational scale, if you like. That's really important. You know, what's happening in those 25% of people? You know, what's the interaction like with that customer? How much effort are they, discretionary effort are they putting in to make a difference for your business? Might not be a lot. So we need to check in with them.
Yeah, I think the other point here, Rich, though, is particularly if you are leading a group of people, you're leading a business, is and you know, we were talking about this before we started to record. I came into this year really positive, loads of great plans, really excited to get out of 2020. When I heard about the lockdown on Monday night, I got really down about it and really started to go, you know, my God, again, you know, number 3, how much longer are we going to be in this perpetual cycle of you know, absolute negativity? And I very quickly had to sort of, you know, go and have a word with myself and, you know, sort of look at myself in the mirror and go, well, you know, we are where we are. There's a lot of people worse than you are. That resilience piece that we talked a lot about throughout 2020 is vital, because 2020 was tiring, wasn't it? We got through the spring into the summer. We had a bit of a break. We got back into the autumn. It got tricky again. You know, we had various different tiers. Then we went into another lockdown. Then we came out of a lockdown. Then we were going to have a 5-day Christmas. Then it was a day Christmas. You know, so we've all been on this sort of emotional roller coaster. And then sort of come out of 20 and go, great, that's that done. We've got the vaccine, and then you're straight back into it. You know, you mustn't, listeners, you have to recognize the amount of resilience that we're going to need, certainly in the next 3 to 6 months, till we get back to any kind of normality. And it will come. You know, we know we've got all of the green shoots there to make it happen. So it is about, you know, to recap, it is about remaining positive and resilient. It's absolutely, don't be complacent. Don't expect just because we've gone back into lockdown that your customers know what you're doing. Keep telling them, as you said, Rich, communicate, and keep asking your customers what it is they want from you. because if you do that, you won't go far wrong, and your business will remain dynamic. I saw a stat that popped up on my newsreel this morning that said that the supermarkets were really struggling with online orders again. You know, they were probably as surprised as the rest of us were when Boris announced the third lockdown. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. Maybe they got more, and you know, and they haven't got the capacity set and ready to go. So, you know, making sure that you are in that place of being dynamic and offering what you can via a Zoom call or by the phone, or you know, it is really, really important. So, yeah.
Well, I must admit, it's a really great opportunity here to look back into 2020 and the great things that you've done as an individual organisation or organisations, groups of organisations, because we've seen it. And that's the really exciting thing, is that people have been able to change what they're doing, have been able to adjust their direction to fit, have in times of real darkness actually been able to plan forward and move forward and actually come out of the different dips on this COVID coaster being stronger. And I think that's a great way to move into 2021, because, you know, we know business is hard work, absolutely is. And we're all on the same sea, but we pull together and we work with each other. I mean, the networking, the organizations are out there, get on a network, speak to people, find out how they're doing things, work together with other organizations. Your competitors are not there out of there to put you out of business. Competitors are there to put you to make you even better, because they keep you competitive, they push you forward. So let's look at working with people, working in groups. We see that that's a great way of doing it, because it benefits customers at the end of the day, which benefits the organization. And of course, we're all customers and we'd all like to continue having great experiences, being able to interact with organizations on multiple levels. Omni-channel is the way to go. Are you talking to people in the right way, etc.? So I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great now. We've had this chat, Ryan. Thanks very much. It's almost like going to see my psychiatrist. So I'm feeling pretty good now. Of course, I'm not going to pay you any money. I'll pay you in cider.
I was going to say, one question that we haven't talked about is, you know, the whole dry January thing, and you know, dry cider. I think that might have gone out the window for most people.
I'm on day 5. I thought I was doing pretty well. I'm not sure I'm going to get to day 6, but that's another story.
So what are we doing next week?
Well, I know we need to talk. We need to wrap this up, and we need to talk about next week. Next week is our exciting week. We have got our international interview occurring. We've got David from handwritten.com coming all the way across the pond, virtually, of course, across the airwaves, to have a chat with my good self and Ryan this time. We're going to do a dual interview here with David, and we're going to chat to him all about customizing that customer experience to really, and personalizing it and making a big difference for your customers going into 2021. So really excited, and that will be out on the what's the date now?
15th, that'll be out.
15th. Thank you for my calendar.
Really interesting to get an American view of customer experience, for sure. So yeah, looking forward to that. Look, it's been a great conversation to kick 2021 off. Again, I'd reiterate your point. I feel better for having the conversation. So thank you, guys. I've been Ryan Huxtable.
I've been Rich Knight. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.